you guys can just limit their attack?
I mean, it's easier said than done. You got two elite players in the pick and roll. You're going to see a ton of pick and roll tonight. Guys that can make all the plays in pick and roll. They can make all the shots from pick and roll. They can make all the passes from pick and roll. And I thought they did a good job at the deadline and adding pieces to their front line, giving them some more size, but the ability to still space the floor. So make it tough. Try to make their catches tough. Try not to let them get the ball to their spots. And then you can't just show them the same thing over and over again. Got to mix up your coverages on them, mix up your matchups on them, and try to do a couple different things.
You mentioned them beefing up their front line. Last time you guys played Dallas, Jarrett had a 20-20 game. How can he best assert himself tonight?
Do the same thing. We'll take that. No, but I think that's what it is. It's like he's got to dominate the painted area on both ends of the floor. We know what he's capable of and how he can impact the game on the defensive end, how he can protect the paint, protect his teammates, but then offensively, we want him to be all over the floor. Put the ball in his hands, let him make plays, put pressure on the rim, do a great job of screening, getting guys open. But again, we'll take that 20-20 tonight.
Chris.
Hey, JB.
What's up, Chris?
Going back to the pick and roll, last year it was Dallas and then you guys neck and neck in terms of frequency. You've diversified a little bit throughout the course of this year, but you still run a lot of pick and roll. Why do you think that has become the pet set league-wide?
Because it creates an advantage. You create a 2-on-1 almost immediately because, most teams go into coverages and don't just switch as much. And then, it's a matter of the guys that are in it. Like if you give, the Lukas, the Dariuses, the Kyries, the Donovans, advantage in pick and roll, they're going to make the right play. Again, those guys are all capable of making those shots, but making the plays. And then it forces you to bring a third defender into the play. So now you're playing advantage basketball on the second side. So I think it's just, an easy way to put the ball in your best player's hands, with dynamic rollers and playmakers from there and create an advantage.
Understanding that your personnel has slightly changed over the last couple of weeks, the three-point shot, what do you have to do with this personnel to get closer to the 40 that you target?
We just got to shoot it. I think there's been opportunities that we've turned down, some good looks. I also think, we've lost a little bit of our get to the paint. I don't think we've done as good a job as getting to the paint because when we got to the paint, that's when those spray outs started to happen. You look at even last game, we still got 30-plus assists, so we're still sharing the ball and doing the right things and playing the game properly. But I think we just got to do a better job of taking what's available when we get those opportunities.
To follow up on that, and not to say that he's the root of the problem or anything along those lines, but Evan is different than Dean and George and some of those floor spacing bigs. In any way, is the problem getting to the paint tied into the fact that it's a little bit more congested than
No, we've proven to be able to do that successfully with our two bigs on the floor. And again, Evan is dynamic on the perimeter. If you throw him the ball out there, he doesn't like shot. He can get into a second action. We just have to get a little bit back to it. You remember early in the year, him and Max were playing that two-man game as a second action. And then that was generating paint touches and then spray outs from there. So, again, just getting the rhythm back coming out of the break. But, we'll get them if we just take them.
Hey,
Dara.
JV, aside from starting and finishing the game, is there a way, because Donovan and Darius are just so explosive, have you given any thought to, or is there any way maybe to, in the middle of the game, stagger those guys so they can kind of have the floor to themselves with with four teammates at a given time, or is just you really like that, having them together at the same time throughout the game?
I think we've done a pretty good job of that. Like we typically get Darius out early and then bring him back in for Donovan so that they do get, to split their time, similarly with Evan and Jarrett, where they get their opportunities to play at the five by themselves. So we try to stagger them as best we possibly can, but understanding, you're going to start this way and you're typically going to close that way. So we got to do a great job of making them comfortable in both situations.
And you've never been shy sticking up for your guys in a public forum. Donovan's been doing a lot of that, this season. The other night he stuck up for Darius before the All-Star break. He talked about how Sam should be in the three-point shootout and stuff like that. How much does it help you as a coach when you have your best player or one of your best players within the locker room really taking that vocal leadership when it comes to teammates?
It makes our job easier, but it speaks to Donovan and it speaks to this group. How connected they are and how genuine their relationships are. But I just think it's one of those things where, players' voices are louder than anybody's. I mean, when players make a statement, doesn't matter who you are, who you think you are, right? That voice is louder than yours. And to have a guy of Donovan's caliber, obviously, magnifies it even more. So, I'm proud of Donovan, kind of putting it out there. But it's always in the team setting and always for the benefit of the guys that's around him. You don't hear him, thumping his own chest and beating, screaming his name out. Like, he's always looking out for others, and that's leadership.
Thanks.
Spencer Davies, Kevin Sauer, kind of going off of what Chris was talking about. First quarters in particular just haven't been as dominant as they were previous to the All-Star break. Is there any correlation that you're seeing? Is it the shots? Or is it what do you feel like it is?
I mean, it's a challenge to our guys who are starting the game. It doesn't come down to shots. There was a time, for a stretch where teams were averaging less than 6 points a game in the first 6 minutes versus us. And we've gotten away from that. And that's a challenge that's been laid to our starters. We've got to get back to being elite defensively to start games. And then our defense changes and gives us easy opportunities on the offensive end of the floor. So for us, everything we do is based on the defense. I know, we talk about the shots and all that stuff, but we're a defensive first team, and that's how we'll win. And we have the ability to be elite. We just have to start games that way.
And I realize it's difficult, but that starting five during that crazy good stretch that you guys had, is there any way that you could kind of find a way to get those guys to play together in certain lineups throughout the game, because they've only played, I think, 17 minutes since those guys got back?
Yeah, again, it's one of those things that you're kind of juggling because of, obviously it started with minute restrictions and how you're working through those things. And then, working a 10-man rotation, makes it a little bit difficult as well. But, again, we'll get there. And it's one of those things where, we're not jumping the gun. Like, we understand what's in front of us, how we're going to improve, how we're going to get there. But we also do a lot of studying on our lineups and those types of things to get those combinations the way that we want them. And again, we'll get there with time.
Evan.
JD, you guys have 5 games instead of nice start games, post All-Star break run, and getting several more times in the season. Is that a little just tough on your guys to have almost a week off of basketball and just come right back into such heavy flow?
Yeah, but nobody gives a shit, right? And that's the way we look at it. Is we're here, it's on the schedule, we're going to show up and do the job. I think, if you allow it to seep in and use it as a crutch, then people will use it as a crutch. So, our message to everybody in the building is, we don't talk about it. We just got another game to play, and we'll travel and play another one. And we'll just continue to prepare for the moment and not try to look and, and give ourselves a reason to be uncomfortable.
And it's been a while since you've taken the reins as head coach of this team. And a lot of people talk about the growth of their players and just how they've grown exponentially from, a team that's rebuilding to a team that's now a playoff contender and legitimate threat. No one really talks about how the coaches developed and grown. Have you noticed any growth or development on your own just in this time from when you started to where you're at just right now?
Can I repeat myself? Nobody gives a shit. It is. You try every summer and throughout the season to try to get better and do your job better and help your guys because their circumstances change year to year. And you read more, you go visit other coaches, you do a bunch of different things to try to improve yourself because you just want to be better for your group of guys.
Anything else in the room?
Yeah,
Mike?
I was just going to ask you, what type of impact you think PJ and Gap is going to have on the Mavericks going forward?
I would say the ability to protect the paint, to put pressure on the rim. Both those guys give you the ability to switch more things so you don't create as many advantages like we were talking about in the pick and roll. And then PJ still has the ability with size to space the floor. So I think it just gives, Dallas more weapons and different ways they can beat you.
Okay.